Time for the Tesla and Palantir weekly update. And going to start off with Tesla here just to show you what I'm seeing. So it wasn't the best weekly candle close. And actually, I'm just going to look at the daily chart first just to show you what's been happening. And actually, the past couple of days, it started closing below the previous 2021 all-time high. And I think this is kind of an indicator that perhaps prices want to maybe go a little bit lower. So we're going to put on the Ichimoku as well. And we can see that it even closed the day back below the daily conversion line, which is at 409.91. And it's getting really close to the daily cloud. So this is what I'm really paying attention to, the day-to-day price action. So we're going to see where Tesla opens up on Monday now. So if it opens like in the cloud here and gets kind of rejected by the cloud, then I think the cloud and this 414.50 are going to become some kind of resistance, and perhaps it can even drift lower to the previous lows here, or maybe even lower. So I'm really going to be watching the day-to-day momentum. And also, if we put on the weekly chart here, we can see that it also closed below the weekly conversion line there too at 407.56. So not the greatest weekly candle close, because this is really technically a loss of momentum here. So 407.56 could also turn into a resistance even before that 414.50. So this is looking possible to finally retest lower levels. And again, how much lower could things really go? So let me bring back my linear scale Gann chart right here, and I'm going to focus on this orange level here. So we already know the Ichimoku, so I can take that off. We can see other levels here, and we can see that essentially this orange level was a big resistance zone in the past, and we can see it was combined with the 45-degree angle with the arc above. So that's why you saw price go above this orange horizontal line numerous times in the past, and it's never even back tested it yet. And you can see even right here for 3 weeks in a row, it did get rejected by this level, and that level is 358, maybe 359, 360, that zone, right? So it would kind of make sense for price to actually finally retest that area, the 358, 359, 360 zone, because it was a very serious previous resistance, now flipping to support. So if the day-to-day price action doesn't, let's go back to the daily chart here. If the day-to-day price action cannot stay above this daily cloud and get back above this 414, then I do think the likely scenario will be this might be coming back down to retest the 358 level. So it's very, very crucial before earnings, I think, to just keep watching this day-to-day price activity just to see if it ultimately wants to stay above the cloud. If it wants to stay above the cloud, then everything else is irrelevant and it'll just follow the cloud and go higher, right? But if it opens up in the cloud on Monday and Tuesday and it can't get out of the cloud, then I think it's going to probably go lower, right? So we don't really need earnings to tell us that. I think the chart can tell us that before any earnings come out. So I'm a little bit cautious the way Tesla closed today. So now it has to prove it wants to be more bullish, because the way this weekly candle closed just now below this conversion line, it's kind of proving that it doesn't want to be short-term bullish. But regardless of that, short term, it doesn't even matter, right? Because what is the likely scenario? Even if it does go down to the 350s right here, it's still just going to be a back test, and then it's going to get out of there and it's going to go towards all-time highs again, right? This is the likely scenario, because a previous resistance flipping to support is the most bullish scenario you can have. But short term, I know a lot of people do options. They kind of freak out about this price action. So short term, you could see some volatility if this daily chart right here cannot stay above the daily cloud. So that's what I recommend to all of you right there. Pay attention to the daily cloud day over day before the earnings report. If it can't get above it, then it might need to drift lower first before breaking out once again. And next is Palantir here. And Palantir had a great weekly candle close. So before I go to the weekly chart, I just wanted to show the daily chart as well. And it spent the last 2 days above the 1.272 Fibonacci extension level. That is 78.13. So this is looking beautiful for a continuation higher now. So when I mentioned before about Tesla kind of like staying above the cloud. Like Palantir is a perfect example of that, right? It went down towards the cloud and has stayed above it. So when I mentioned Tesla before, you got to pay attention to the daily cloud because if it wants to stay above, it's going higher. But if it stays inside the cloud and gets rejected by the top of the cloud, then Tesla is going lower. So I just wanted to show you that Palantir is a perfect example of what Tesla could do to avoid going lower, right? So that's why I mentioned paying attention to the day-to-day Ichimoku cloud for Tesla. But anyways, back to Palantir, we can see that this is bullish, right? And we can go to see the weekly candle close now by doing the weekly time frame. And this actually had a close above the conversion line 2 and the 78.13. So this was bullish on 2 counts, right? Got above two resistance levels in 1 weekly candle. So it's basically back on track to kind of go much higher. And the next target above would be the 104.21. So actually, for the targets, let's go to my log-based scan here for Palantir, and we can clearly see that it actually did a perfect backtest of this bottom arc here in the 64s, and it recovered nicely, and now price is even closed back above the blue level of my GAN. So this is something to pay attention to now. And that level kind of is around maybe $76, $77. Yeah, $76.92, $77, just round up, which is kind of around that $78 Fibonacci extension level too. So this is another important thing to watch, right? If price comes back down to retest it during the week, that's fine. But I want to see continuous candles, weekly candles close above this level in order for price to go back towards the previous all-time highs and even the arc above, which currently next week it sits around 87.68. And this is going to be important to watch in the weeks to come. So it's going to be whether or not Palantir wants to break out towards 100. So it must start to close weekly candles and flip this top arc to a support in order to go to the 100. So this level next week, $88. In the weeks to come, it goes down to like 86, 85, depending on how long it takes, right? So I think this is going to be the next important thing to watch, and it could do something like this. Maybe it goes up there, gets rejected, comes back down, retests, and then finally breaks free and flips it to support, and then it's going to be the 100s, right? So it's not going to be until this arc breaks as a resistance. So that's the next thing I'm really watching for Palantir. But the more important thing is now holding the $77, $78 zone as support week over week. And if so, this can build a base on this new level and then go much, much higher.